So I remember, and I know that you guys have trouble following the wisdom. That some of you prefer talking of your human insignificance rather than pay attention to the wisdom. I understand this. I've been challenging, I'm talking about you guys. Hopefully you can look at yourself and forgive and keep going with the class. Thank you. I understand that even if in your ego you seem to be fine, there are systems inside you that are triggered. Because it's stuff you're going to see when you get to the 8th bhumi. And be attacked by your ego directly, trying to stop your realization as God. There will be a point of great fighting. Okay, when you get there, you'll know. But I'm addressing issues that usually we face at this level. So your challenge right now, at a level you ignore, you have. So I understand the challenge. You know, we go about, oh, it doesn't really matter. We just start to be playful, and you're not in a state of suffering, but there's a game starting to happen inside you that kind of wants to discredit the respect we owe to the wisdom by taking it for granted or saying it doesn't really matter, let's not pay attention. In this pleasure right to exist freely as divine beings, we invoke that wisdom inside to become egocentric and arrogant and become disrespectful and pretend it doesn't even matter. Pretend we don't care. I'm talking about everyone. I just use the people in the back because they were the girls talking because they love each other. They like to play. They're like children. They're so beautiful and funny. And I love them. So I used that because it was nice. And you really have to stop tapping your pen because everyone hears it. Yeah, okay? I'm talking about these subtle reactions that I have not seen one person in this room not have those reactions. That are so subtle, you can't even see them. And it's okay because this class is about that which you ignore of yourself, and that's why I teach about it. Or else you'd know. You wouldn't need me as a teacher. There's a conflict about power. Power is denial. So divine power is divine level of denial. And it's so wonderful, it's divine. How could it be awful? What allows you to measure strength? There's something with a charge of velocity, energy, there's a mass, or there's inertia that wants to be fixed. Let's say there's velocity, and there's something that resists it, and you feel it. If there would not be resistance of a force, how could it be powerful? It would just be softly flowing. So when you feel in a state of power, as you evolve, it means that you resist. Breathe. But the more you go about it, the Vishneshwar experience that you just got, there was no resistance apparently, but there was power. And then Sagni said, well, I just discovered there's denial in everything, which allowed her not to feel that power, but she was more in a state of power than you were while you felt powerful, because she knew the experience of that resistance to being God. However, the oneness experience of all magnificentness that you got is you remember yourself as God, which is wonderful. From there, you still have to progress. God is discovering himself. Okay? And in the Hindu approach, in the Brahmanical way, we even say, even Brahma, we need to teach him again how to create because he lost it. Which is a completely flawed metaphor, but still, it was meant to say, you, as a localized experience of Brahma, still needs to learn how to really exist as Brahma and act as Brahma. Because if you know how to exist as Brahma and do nothing, you're not Brahma. You're just conscious of the state, but you are Brahma when you do what Brahma does, and then you are that. So there is action, and if there is action, there's a phenomena that we can perceive, maybe with more refined senses, maybe beyond the sense of perception, but if something is perceived, it means that something reacted to that event to make it appear. That's the love-denial balance, because from the gaze of Brahma Shakti, love and denial is the same thing. It's allowing tangibility, it's allowing manifestation, allowing the world. So there's no good and evil in that perception. Okay? So we have these reactions and we speak of power. Well, what is power? Once we're conscious of being all the power of the universe, why can't we make a planet come or stop? Cease to exist. Why don't we have all the supernatural abilities at once? Because we chose individualization. Because we chose to be in the illusion of separation, in the smallest of a single entity, which is equivalent of the one universe, but because of our choice of selected individualization, we also accepted that we would be limited in our experience of the great one, unique power. So, a resurrector, a trained resurrector, will have, let's say, a limit of 3 resurrections in a lifetime, for metaphysical reasons that you would argue with. So I'm not going to explain to you why. When you get there, you'll say, it makes so much sense. Until then, forget it. You're going to use this to deny the possibility it could be possible. So I'm not getting into that argument. Not yet. Nah, yeah. So, thank you. Eventually. So there is a choice of experiencing the almightiness, the omniscience, the omnipotence, and the omnipresence in a limited way. So that's why we can remember the essence of ourselves as God, even at some point become conscious of the whole of the universe, but not the entire universe as refined that Brahma himself can perceive, although it is Brahma that does the perception that allows us to be conscious. Let me explain. Sakyamuni Buddha experienced something at one point. He became conscious of 3,000 of thousands of worlds. Okay, like a lot of worlds. It's a way to say fucking lot. And on each of these worlds that were inhabited, there were Buddhas. Now, just lately, a few months ago, NASA discovered a planet that probably has life, that is almost identical to Earth in every possibility. Okay, not shape of continents, but everything, balance of water, oxygen in the atmosphere, there's vegetation there, there's so much stuff. I mean, everything is there. It has to have life because everything is so identical to Earth. It's exactly their 500th planet that they found. You know, at some point, like a few years ago, they were starting to find planets around stars. They refined their way of doing that, and when a few months ago, it was in 2010, when they discovered the 500th planet, it is exactly like 99% or something. I don't remember exactly the proportion, but it's so close to be the twin of Earth that if you calculate there's 1 in 500, there are many thousands of those planets in the universe that can sustain life and probably do. Therefore, there might be intelligent lives in there if there's a sentient biological being that had communication tools and manipulation tools that allow them to build and pass on the knowledge to next generation, making them intelligent philosophical beings such as us. Okay? But it's very recent. There is scientific proof of that. Okay? So the Buddha Sakyamuni, now NASA starts to confirm there's a possibility, very high possibility of that, but the Buddha became conscious of all the worlds at once and all the Buddhas. But Sakyamuni did not become conscious of the experience of every single individualized entity on those planets. It is way too much information for a single consciousness to get it. Now, think of me as a pompous ass to compare myself to Sakyamuni if you want. You have the right to think I'm out of my bounds. It's okay. But I got this experience. want to experience Buddhahood. After a few times that I just went in a state of Buddhahood whenever I wanted, I became conscious of the universe as a whole. And all the worlds that were inhabited, and mostly all the Buddhas in each of those worlds, and knowing that they were now conscious of what I am. And this experience was extremely rich and lasted for 10 seconds. Because my nervous system, well, the first time it happened, my nervous system could not handle more. And I became aware of only 2 of those planets in a more refined way. But I knew there were tons of those planets inhabited. But only 2 of them did I get information about possible life forms and how they looked like and everything and how they communicate. And one precisely with lots of detail. The other was just like, I don't know, it's slimy goo and something, and that's it. Although it's intelligent and it philosophizes and there's Buddhas. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the experience. I'm not there. But I know there's something going on because I lived it. Now it could be hallucination. It could be any crazy mental idea. If I consider all the supernatural experiences I got that were validated by other people experiencing something in the world of manifestation, it gives enough credit for me to think that this experience was the same one that Sakyamuni Buddha had when he described it. And of course I'm not as great as Sakyamuni Buddha, but when he was just a man, he was just a man. And of course I can be as great as what he was at that point. I'm trying to teach you that you could be as great at that. And you think to yourself, I couldn't be as great as Jesus. Well, when Jesus was just a man, he was just a man. Maybe you are at that point in your evolution. Why not? I'm trying to teach you that. Of course, today Jesus and Buddha and all these guys have kept on evolving as, divine entities and stuff. So, I'm not comparing myself to them now, which would be awfully inaccurate and arrogant. I'm even conscious that I'm at a very different scale of their experience. But I'm conscious of something. What I experience is identical to what they experience. When I have the experience, they're just always in that, because it's their game now. So, you can become conscious when you have a oneness experience. You're sitting in a field, you're in a bus, you're having an experience of oneness. You feel one with whatever's around you. You feel one, but you don't think about the Chinese people being beaten up at that point. No, you just feel, I knew I was the earth and the plants that I was in, people sitting in a bus, and you have the oneness, God level experience, still in the scope of your localized refinement of nervous system. Still in what your human entity could handle as information. Okay? So why are we not completely the one universal God, even though we know we are the complete one universal God? It's because of our primordial choice of individualization, where we choose that we would experience from one point of view of the universal reality. And because of that choice, we have what seems to be a limit for the ego. Now, it's not a limit, it's a choice. It's a way to make sure that we'll have a very rich experience here instead of having a diluted experience but everywhere. We compacted our range of influence and power, even in the Buddha state, so that that densification, by pulling in the limit of perception, by concentrating our focus, our gaze, our attention, could be localized enough for the information to be rich enough to be worth something. If you can go beyond the idea of something worth anything. Okay, let's play with words here. Okay, I'm trying to teach. Make the experience of oneness so rich and so dense in a physical embodied being, so that it will be strong enough for that limited human being to perceive it, allowing him to fantasize he's still the one God. So that limitation of our supernatural power is analog, equivalent to the choice of separation we made. If we had wished, as our localized experience, to have a much broader range of influence, we would have also been less densified and less limited, and we choose one of the courts of angels and experience. And then poof, an angel starts to have a soul. Some people want more power, they go deeper in suffering, they rise as a demon. A demon, rarely, but sometimes can have a soul, becomes back at the service of God, demon is burned, we start back, as animals and then humans and stuff. But it's possible for angels to gain a soul. It's rare, but it happens. And a demon is just an angel at a very dense level of experience. And except those who went to hell to see it and live it from their own eyes, not with your eyes, but with your guts that you feel it, except those who really went to hell to be with demons, demons are at the service of God so much more than most humans are. And we see this as a single statement in the Bible about the demons. Lucifer nonetheless is the preferred angel of God. And his deal is to go in hell and make sure we suffer when we don't want to learn through the good way. Okay? He handles suffering. Now don't invoke Lucifer. It's completely stupid. It's evil. But I'm telling you, from the gaze of God, it's a compassionate, expedient mean. You have to evolve and you sit on your lard. I'm so comfortable. Out of your comfort zone. Go and learn. Okay? So that good and evil thing is an illusion. As much as the illusion, then when you seem to be limited in your power, you're not. You chose it. And it is so wonderful. I remember when I was not incarnate, gazing, and then I heard another spiritual master speak about it, and I'm going to take this as a teaching tool. It is so wonderful for realized entities to look at such powerful gods, so powerful beings that you are. Choose such a dense prison so that you make sure you will really accomplish yourself as dense as God could bear. And the beauty and wonder, the admiration that accomplished beings have when they exist as gods and they see you as the courageous ones, now that they have seen all the easier paths in the universe and the way the soul can evolve, how courageous and extremely powerful you can be to choose the presence of limitations, the presence of natural laws at the densest physical level, the prison of pain. You chose a path where suffering would be unavoidable. You chose a path when you had other options in the universe, and you chose the one that was the most foreign from a comfort zone. And from the gaze of God as one, and from the gaze of gods as all accomplished beings who are the one God keeping their individual experience, the ascended masters. From their point of view, the moment you're born as a human, you are a part of the elite. Now don't go brag arrogantly, we're chosen, we're the elite of God. No, that's bullshit. But you have the compassion of Shiva, Avalokiteshvara, God at your service, for having such a strong will to focus on pain as long as it took for you to go through birth. Because after the animal experiences, you could have chosen another one. You didn't know about it, but some do. Some say, well, I'm going with this and that's it. There's flesh. Okay? And then Shiva would have a dog, or let's say Krishna would have an animal like a pet in his world, depending on how it happens. Okay? So I really hope this will get through you. The admiration for me knowing you could have chosen another path, and knowing you did not only chose to go into a human path, you chose to study with a master that would push on you even more. You know, don't go and beat up a man who's already down. Well, that's sometimes what you ask me to do. I can't get up. And you say, if it doesn't work, beat me out of my stillness if it doesn't work. And I find ways as comfortable as I can, but of course, I hated to do this. I was having a conversation with two students during lunch, saying, they noticed that I said, oh, I shouldn't have said something, and tried to retract my words. Can't retract words. You know, you say something and then you say, oh, let me take that back. No way, you said it, it's too late, okay? You can say you're sorry, but at least go integrate your guilt. I said something I shouldn't have, from my perspective. And asked, why? That was beautiful to say this. It was authentic, it was nice. Said, it could have caused suffering to people. And then Selena said, well, if they suffer about it, they have something to look at. And I replied, do you think I enjoy doing that? You think I enjoy kicking in your face? If it's not absolutely required for you, I will not push on your buttons. I won't push you out of your comfort zone. If it's not absolutely required, I will not suggest to you a path where there is suffering. And if there is absolutely no other way out, you can count on me to deliver the goods. But when I do something, I give you teachings that are hard for you, and I comment you, and when I bitched that beautiful lady there, and I said, you did this, you did that, it causes suffering, now you have to be ashamed and live it. It's because it was absolutely necessary for like 5-6 people in you to look at yourself and see how you're going to deal with that. And I will deliver the terrible Dharma. We call this terrible Dharma. I will deliver the terrible Dharma in a state of beautiful admiration for your courage as a soul to require that and say, come Maha, kick me in the face. I want it. And I have to go as a human and suffer the interaction as much as you do. Because you're one of the most powerful entities of the universe for choosing the densest denial to exist in. Breathe. Now, I don't want to play on the worth thing because it's still a misperception, but I'm surely going to tell you, I wish you understood how much value that gives to your experience. From the point of view of those who are finally freed from that enslavement to nature. From the point of view of those who didn't dare go to the worst place to evolve. From the angels that will choose to serve you if you have an authentic, faithful prayer. Because they see their God in there. You make a prayer with faith, they say, yes, my Lord, what is your will? And they will obey. They'll kneel to you. And a demon will come and admire your will if you're in a state of virtue. It will be enslaved. Usually be in a state of fear and get the fuck out. If you're really in a state of virtue. You chose the most awful experience for a free, almighty, powerful God. And at the same time chose the most beautiful and wonderful place to have it. To have the sunrise and make color so beautiful that, and pretty much any planet where there's color when the sun rises, there's no living thing because everything is like too hot or it doesn't work, you know. This is a place where we can live the terrible pressure of denial and the admiration of the most artistic creation from God's gaze. The artistic power of God, that we fall in a state of wonder looking at the sun through the trees and the beauty of ice crystal as they forms, and the snow where it's very cold, and the desert where it's very hot, and see that gazillion ways of life forms could take place here, and evolution. And as humans and other types of creatures that can philosophize, admire the beauty from so many different angles in a single lifetime. As you've seen the snow and the rain and the sun and the rising and the going of the sun and the blue skies and the terrible power of the lightning and all these so fashionable ways of artistically, so marvelously admiring God's work in the quality of fabrication of a cell and the quality of fabrication of the whole organism as we are as human, the perfection of the system. And admire how beautifully every single thing always flows naturally into the next one. From one day to another, to a season to another, to a year to another, relationship to the sun, and then one flow of blood to the other, and to the lungs, and to the heart, and to the kidneys, and to the liver. Such a beautiful system. Not a single arrogant human could have the mental refinement to have such artistic power in such a useful way, in such a magnificent way, and be so enslaved to the terrible denial, so that we even forget we created that beauty. And my work here is to ensure you will go and defeat that denial, not by denying it. Because you try to defeat the denials by denying it, by saying, no, there's no shame, no, there's no pride, and there's no fear. And the first thing we want to do is just go into Sukyanandaram, and there's so much joy and love, and do the happy things. And we use that to deny the denials, to not go into the suffering. And then, first thing comes up, we catch it. We've been using happiness in a way to shield ourselves from the suffering. We go into suffering. Next thing you know, you become a victim, and you use your suffering to make sure you'll never be happy again. Well, what should we do? The pressure required for dust to come back and become a diamond. You know what is required? It's so intense. They do it mechanically, but they're not real diamonds. They're diamonds, artificial. For a real diamond, imagine how much pressure must be endured for that artistic beauty to be confronted to the negating of that beauty. For love and denial to be pulled so intensely close. For your soul to become that perfected diamond, the Vajra. I've been confronted to that reality so much. To teach you, because I have to show you what you despise and what you admire at the same time. And that has been challenging. Now, what the heck do you think I come back? Because it works. Because you do it. There's beauty in that. And you can see beauty in a dramatic play of Shakespeare where everyone dies, you're still touched. And you will see beauty when everyone saves the little puppy dogs from their termination, you know, in the kid movies. And you can enjoy the beauty of creation. As a human, as your human nervous system can deal with the information. When it is required for you to be out of your comfort zone into your comfort zone, same time. There's no way your human will understand this. How to go enjoy life in a state of divine power, accepting the state of divine level of denial, and evolve and be happy and in sorrow at the same time. When the wheel is self-sustaining, you got all these conscious experiences, but when you go in sorrow, you think you stop being happy? No. You start to pay attention to the part of you that is in sorrow. Because we are limited. In nature, we do not know how to breathe in and breathe out at the same time. Because naturally it doesn't work. So you think in your ego, you can't possibly be happy and in suffering at the same time. One step at a time, you can be taught this non-dualistic state of existence. And even I, when I teach you, have to go from a Buddha state to an enslaved human state to a Buddha state to an enslaved human state. And I dance with you guys. I do the ballet. La, 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 la. It's so beautiful. And as a human, I don't like that suffering. But I learned to see it artistically as the work of God. And maybe by sharing this experience, you'll see that artistic work of God. When you stop looking at the stain on the picture and go back and see, it's the stain that allows the rainbow to reflect on it and this, and just go on and see the global picture. When you have a global picture, it is a piece of art that no human way could possibly render. The admiration that God has for you who chose to be enslaved to the negation of what you are as the one that admires you by chewing the negation. That thing of being all that at the same time. Read. I have to find ways to inspire you. And sometimes it's by invoking what other students did. And sometimes it's by sharing my point of view in a way that I feel it so that you will feel it. And I have to put my guts into it. Because I really don't want you to think in your head, oh, it was a nice speech, entertaining, was it? Let's have tea. No. I hope this will touch your soul, touch your body, touch everything you are, because you have never been separated from God. And you have never been away from what you so feel abandoned from. And how could it not be beautiful, Jesus on that cross? Father, why have you abandoned me? And so humble for that Lord in becoming to admit humbly, I feel abandoned right now. This is exactly what I'm going to do. Because the day before he was saying, me and my Father are one. There's no abandonment. And he accepted to live all the range of experience as they showed up, without fighting, out of his comfort zone. You think he was comfortable, Jesus? You think the Buddha was comfortable when he was not eating? He made peace with it, but he was not comfortable. Try it. I've tried it. I'm going to tell you, sustaining your body out of soul consciousness is not comfortable. Can reach a point where there's no discomfort, but it's a status quo. Because your nature is meant to have a certain experience of pleasure, but then we complain, we go again in the human complication. So even if you think that you're in such a state of denial, even when you see that you are fighting, if you're like this, I hurt and I'm getting teaching from the Mahavajra and from the Jesus wisdom and from the Buddha, and I went to see this master and all these wonderful masters of wisdom, and I fight it. There will not be any one of these masters, those who are really spiritual enlightened beings, that will think they're still fighting. No. The Vishnus, the Buddhas, will look at you and say, how beautiful it is, the fighting, because it is easy to love folly in a child's play. Sometimes I laugh when I see my son do a mistake. If it didn't hurt him, if it hurts him, well, some people laugh because they have the yellow laughing, the hypocrite. Oh fuck, he really hurt him, so I'm going to take care of it. You go, no, it was bad, it hurt him, and I'm going to laugh at it. But sometimes we laugh when there's something stupid that happened, and it doesn't really matter. There's a way to enjoy it and to see, oh, he just fell because he couldn't walk, and now he can. And start to see, it's so wonderful, the fact I know that this falling will cause the better competence at walking. And step by step see the mistakes, and no, they're not mistakes, they're baby steps into accomplishment of yourself as God. And all of this is a process of love, because there is love. Although it rarely happens, it happens that I feel offended. Usually have the reflex of finding it so cool that someone is evolving. Okay, so it's not out of compassion, but he's discovering his free will, for which he did not last week. He would not have dared. I find it cool. But sometimes it affects me. And when I am insulted, because I have the natural reaction as human, I say, that's so cool, I'm insulted. That's it. I trained. I'm telling you, you can do it. I'm telling you, you can enjoy God's work in all levels of manifestation. And then, of course, there's the stupid ego comment. Oh, so we can go and beat you up now, how you wouldn't mind? No, shit, I wouldn't mind. I still wouldn't hate you, but I would mind. Please don't do that. So at one point I will speak of you again. Another point I'll speak of the great gods who accomplished themselves, those who guide me in my work, actually. But I really felt like it. That's not one of the things that the Lords wanted me to say, the Masters of Maria. That's something I wanted to share. I wanted to tell you how I see you. As great God who chose the hardest path Because there's no way you're going to go through that without suffering. And there's no way you're going to go through that without happiness either. Breathe. Remember, in the darkest moment, your ego is fundamentally built to sabotage your divine level of experience. With no reason. He won't explain to you, oh, there's egos because of control, because I always felt abandoned. You'll come to a point, ego just wants to screw up your experience as God. That's it. And if even that is beautiful, even though there's suffering, there's pain. And I will be the first one to admit, I have pain when I have it. It still is beautiful. If you can look at it from the point of view of God, of the one who is not enslaved to be the character on the stage, playing a theater. But you know yourself as the character, the one dressing the mask and the suit. If you know yourself as the suit being dressed, as a spectator, and as a screenplay artist, the writer of the piece. And have a global perception of what you go through. You'll see, oh, that's just ego fighting. I still have to deal with it. Okay? So what can we do? When our human wants to find a way out, and the way out of that situation is not at the level of human means, how can we work it out when there is no way out? Because we chose to be here. We have to heal our sickness of trying to find a way out. The way out is the way in. Go and integrate it. Just be conscious so that the entire prison will finally reveal itself to be the heavens. When the prison finally becomes, oh, I just forgot. I'm home. I was enslaved to nature. I forgot. I'm home. And I saw gray walls with bars, and I'm just sitting in the park with all like this beautiful view. I just forgot. The first intelligent thought that happened in my human intellectual mind when I first got the experience of Buddhahood when I was 34. Ah, I remember now. I was always the Buddha. When I got it, I remembered that I had never been not that Buddha state. What can we do when there's no human way out and everything inside us tries to find a way out? We breathe. And we celebrate. It's so wonderful to be conscious and to live it. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Together. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Breathe silently. Every time, my Lord, I'll try to find a way out of suffering. Help me remember Every time, my Lord, I forget the choice I made, help me remember. Every time I feel abandoned, help me remember you are so close I can't even see you. The light is so bright that I just see darkness. I am burned. And if it is your will, may I burn in your gaze. If it is your will, may I be in delusion of destruction. And if I suffer, help me remember the choice I made when I was you, my Lord. And remember me, please, when I come back home. Take me in your arms when finally I will come back home. And if I fear this moment, help me, my Lord. Help me. Help me remember. Om Mani Padme Hum. It is so wonderful to experience divine consciousness, to feel it and live it. Because out of my own choosing, I can't do it without you, Lord. I can't do it. May I receive your grace, O Lord. Maheshwar, Holy Ghost, may I be affected by your grace, that I may remember